Wonderful. Okay, hi everyone. I am Kelly Woodruff. I am class of 92 and I am the new board president. So I give my very warm welcome to everybody to this new year of the Board of Governors. We have a big, very full agenda today, lots to discuss. So we're just gonna get started right away. With an approval. If anybody has read the minutes from our last meeting, if anybody wants to make a motion to approve, or if there's any corrections or anything to discuss about the minutes.
I just have one small correction. It says that I was there and I wasn't. Okay. Unfortunately.
Nice to be honest.
Well, I remember because it was my birthday, so that's how I know. I was like, I'm sure. It was the day after. So no,
all right. Well, with that modification of the minutes, does somebody want to move to approve the minutes?
Approve the minutes.
You'll approve?
Second.
And Leah will second. Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, terrific. Okay, so I will give you, hopefully you've had a chance to read my board report. It has been a very busy year. I want to start, I do not see Barbie on the screen, but she knows how much she is in my heart. We all owe Barbie an enormous debt of gratitude for managing the process to get our 501c3 dissolved. And so if you're a new board member, just know that it was a big process. We've been a 501c3 for a very long time. We were out of compliance with rules and laws, and Barbie has successfully got us to the finish line. We have not yet crossed the finish line, however. I spoke with the lawyers last week. We are very close. All the paperwork is with the state. We are, there does not seem to be any problem. It's just at this point, it's bureaucracy, and so we're just waiting. So the good news is we are now and going forward, we will be acting as the Alumni Association Board of Governors, not as a 501c3. So thanks again to Barbie for getting us there. So part of the process of re-envisioning this board is that, as I said in my report, that we spent a lot of time this summer talking with our fabulous staff, our alumni staff, about how to envision the board going forward. And so one of the things is that we created the guidelines. So we are not going to have bylaws because we are not a 501c3. We do not need bylaws. So we're going to have guidelines for how this board will operate in the future. We have determined that we do not actually need to vote on them, but we are very open, or I am very, very open to comments. If there are anything, if you had a chance to review them, if there's anything that you think should be tweaked or modified, we can discuss it now, or we can, or you can email me separately after the meeting. But among other things, one of the things is we're reconstructing the sort of the executive committee, and I feel a little weird saying this because as the new president, basically, I feel like I'm a little bit hoisting myself on you, but we did decide that the president role should be 2 years instead of 1 year now. So you voted for me last year and now you're getting me for 2 years. But again, feel free to comment here or elsewhere if you think that that is a bad idea. The Board of Trustees Executive Committee serves terms of 2 years as well. And just our experience, I've done a lot of committee work and have been on a lot of executive committees. And 1 year it goes really, really fast. And particularly this board, we only meet 3 times a year. That we feel like it will be good for the board to have a 2-year commitment. And in that vein, we also, the president-elect is now going to be the vice president, who will be a more active participant. And so that is one thing that we do need to vote on, because we did not do it according to our bylaws this summer since we were in flux. But we have recommended and graciously accepted that Kathy would be our vice president, will be the title now. So we do need to vote on that, but I just want to say thank you, Kathy, we had a nice long discussion about it, and Kathy gave some thought to it. So we are in very, very good hands with Kathy. So I think, do we need to vote on that? We do. Okay, so why don't we vote on that now? If somebody other than me can make a motion to elect Kathy as the vice president. All right, Mario, thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to nominate Kathy to be our vice president.
Thank you. Is there a second? Okay, terrific. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I.
Fabulous. Okay, thank you. So going forward, yes, thank you. Okay, so in addition to Kathy and me, I love that. I did not know that was coming, so that was
So sweet.
then also, we have Jerome is going to continue in the role as, it's not going to be called treasurer anymore, it's going to be called philanthropist, and who is, oh yeah, Rodolfo, sorry, Rodolfo is on the phone too, isn't he? Yeah, there he is. Rodolfo is going to continue on as our nominations chair. Thank you, Rodolfo. And we have confirmed with both of them that that is the case, and we do not need to vote on that. So thank you for that. And the other thing is we want to start the year by reaffirming that this is, we are shrinking the board as we discussed last year. We're going to keep it smaller and hopefully more active. And so we want people to take this position seriously and commit to doing the work that is needed on the Board of Governors, including making the financial commitment. The Board of Governors financial commitment is only $1,000 a year, but it's very important that we have 100% commitment. And so for those people who are not making their commitment, we'll be following up with people going forward. And also we expect people to attend the meetings regularly and to participate in the activities and events that we plan. And again, if it's something that's not working out for you, then we can have a discussion about rotating off the board if that is what works better for anybody. But you know, going forward, we want people who want to be here and want to commit, including making their commitment. So those are sort of the highlights of the things that we're going to change. We've eliminated the committee process, which is not actually that old of a process. We felt like that wasn't working quite as well as we had hoped it would, and so we're going to just try for smaller activities to get people more on board going forward. All right. Does anybody have any questions? Anything? All right, terrific. All right, so now I would like to go around. It's good because we still have some people coming in. Let's go around the room and just give a quick introduction. I think we saved only about 10 minutes. So I'm gonna start with David, and if you could just say your name, your class, where you work, where you live. Not necessarily in that order.
Hi everyone, I'm David Casarillas Gonzalez. I'm class of 18. I work at Hanson Bridget LLP as a senior counsel in the general litigation group. And I live in the Mission District here in San Francisco with my husband. Hi, I'm Raul Gonzalez Casarillas, class of 18 as well. And I work at Latham & Watkins as a corporate attorney.
Hi, everybody. My name is Mario Nessa Lopez, proudly class of 2015. I actually work here at UC Los San Francisco. I get to work for David as our Chief Diversity Officer. And after 12 amazing years here in the city and county of San Francisco, I just moved to Santa Fe last month.
Oh,
Brought it home.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Cliff Smoot. This is my first meeting. I'm also proudly the class of 2015 with Mario. And I work here in the city at the Walk-Up firm and live in Redwood City.
Nice. Welcome. So for those, sorry, so yeah, is it Clifton?
I usually go by Cliff.
Cliff, okay, so Cliff is one of our new members. We have 2 new board members this year, so welcome, Cliff. It's very nice to have you.
Hi, I'm Leo Martinez. This says class of 78. Is that really possible? Anyways, I used to be associated with the law school. I'm currently a managing director for Anderson.
I'm Christina Turplin. I also go by Nina, so you'll hear both. I'm the class of 2003, and I am the partner of a law firm called Ethereal Law here in San Francisco.
I'm Julia Jordan. I am the new Chief Advancement Officer here at UC Law. I just started on Monday, so I haven't met many of you yet, but I'm thrilled to be here. And I'm coming most recently from Habitat for Humanity Greater San Francisco, where we focused on building affordable home ownership in Marin, San Francisco, and San Mateo counties.
Great. I'm Kathy Geary. I am the managing attorney in the Office of Professional Competence at the State Bar of California. That's a mouthful. I'm class of 2006, and I live in the East Bay.
Wonderful. I'm Kelly Woodruff. I already introduced myself.
David Fagman, I'm Chancellor and Dean. I've been here since 1987. How was that possible? I've been beating Leo Martinez at racquetball for most of that time, and I live in Mill Valley.
I am David Seward. I'm the CFO of UC Law San Francisco. Been employed here since 1994.
Hi everyone, my name is Svetlana Matt, class of 2012. I live in Washington, D.C. And I work for a company called Dish Network, telecom company. I lead the company's public policy work. And prior to that, also worked on Capitol Hill for a while in D.C. and several government agencies. So bring that D.C. perspective to the group.
I'm Steve Austin. I was a judge in Contra Costa County and retired a couple of years ago. And now I'm a neutral at ADR Services and all around.
Okay, let's go to Zoom, and then we'll come back to staff. So let's see, Rodolfo.
Hi everyone, I'm Rodolfo Shaw. I'm class of 2005. I do education law out here in Southern California, and I am currently streaming in from Monrovia, California, if any of you guys know it.
Nice. Okay. Somebody else want to call somebody because I'm kind of Stacy Drescher.
Hi everyone. I saw some of you last night. What a cool, interesting, diverse board we have. Really, really proud of this. Sorry I couldn't be there in person. So I'm class of 2003, and I'm a recovered litigator turned private investigator and workplace misconduct attorney. And I have my own firm called DCI Group, and it's attorneys and investigators.
All right, Diego.
Kelly, thank you for that. I am Diego Acevedo. I am class of 2006, and I am at Apple. I lead one of our employment law groups for our retail stores, and I am based in Northern New Jersey, and I work very closely with the Adelmis, and have also worked with Stacy. Stacy's done some incredible work for us in the past.
Okay, and then, well, let's go to you, Adelmis. I don't say your name right. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Adelmis Warner. As Diego mentioned, I work closely with Diego. I work at Apple. I lead our global employee relations organization, class of 2001. I currently live in Oakland with my 3 wonderful babies. They're not babies, and my husband. So nice to meet all of you. Sorry I can't be there in person either.
All right, thank you. And then let's start with you, Meredith.
Hi, so great to see everyone. I'm Meredith Jaggard. I'm the Chief Alumni Officer and Executive Director of the Alumni Association, and I have been here for 5 years. And I live in Berkeley.
Hey everyone, Charles Wolin, Assistant Director of Alumni Engagement, and I have been at UC Law for almost 6 years, and I live here in San Francisco in the city.
Hi everyone, Hannah Athanasios. I'm the Alumni Engagement Program Manager. I've been here for almost 2.5 years, and I live in Coast Triangle.
Hey everyone, I'm Valeria, and I am a 3L. I am the External Vice President for U class, and I also recently moved. I live in the Excelsior now.
Last but not least, hi everyone. My name is Millicent Wong. I'm a 3L. I'm the Student Body President for UC Law Associated Students this year. I'm also on executive technology editor of UC Law Journal, and I'm from LA. Fun fact about me is I interned for alumna Kamala Harris, her Senate office back in 2017. And I'm excited to be here with you all today. And I live by Japantown.
Wonderful. Okay, well, thank you. It's really nice to get this chance to be together with everybody. So now, let's see, we're on to advancement office updates. Meredith.
Not ready quickly while you get your slides ready. So Meredith is going to give the advancement office update today. Thank you, Meredith, because this is a presentation that was prepared before I started. But I did just want to give you all one quick update from the advancement office outside of what Meredith has presented today, which is that Tracy Whitlock, who is our director of planned giving, is leaving UC Law San Francisco. I don't know how many of you have worked with her, but she has made the decision to move on to an organization called Canine Companions, where she is going to start as a volunteer and has willed her way that she will work there as a part-time fundraiser. So Canine Companions is based out of Santa Rosa. Tracy lives in San Rafael and really wants to support some animals who are being prepared to support people who are living with a variety of disabilities. So Tracy will be with us through basically the end of October. And we will be looking to replace her. So I just wanted to let you all know about that. Our team all knows that we told the trustees this morning as well. So Tracy has built a really tremendous Legacy Society program here. We do have 149 Legacy Society members as of today. And she has really set us up for success. So the next person really will just be building on what Tracy has built already. And with that, I'll pass it over to her.
Thank you. And just want to say we're so excited to have Julia lead our department and part of our team. She's been here for 5 days and it's like we've never not been without her. So we're really excited to have Julia be a part of our squad. All right, let's talk Alumni Engagement Alumni Association. So thanks to Charles Wollen's outstanding leadership and a vision that you all might remember was called Hastings Tastings, which we thought was the best wine club name of all time. And just in case you don't remember, we were going to press send on Hastings Tastings, and then the New York Times article came out 2 years ago. And so we stopped it, and we came up with now what we think is an even better name, the Supreme Court, presenting the Supreme Court Wine Club. We have 86 now members. Our first shipment is going out this week. We're very excited. And we have 2 bottle club memberships, a 4-bottle and a 12-bottle. And part of the wine club membership is that 20% of it, 19%, goes to student scholarship. So we've raised about $4,000, close to $5,000 so far. So we're thrilled to be enjoying the fruits of the vineyard, but also giving back to students. You're welcome.
There's also a few spots left if you haven't signed up yet, and I'll drop that in the chat. And the goal is to get it to about 100, 150 members. We'll also have a spring release, and every wine as part of the Supreme Court is a direct tie to an alum that went to our school here. So you'll get the first release from Jolene Yee. She graduated in 1996. She works as the general counsel at the Delicato Family Vineyards, which is a consortium group that oversees a couple different wineries. And then Lindsay Hoops will be doing our spring release. She has her own family vineyard. She graduated in 2009, and she also is a current adjunct professor here. So it's to showcase our alumni in the industry and then also to support the students. Back to you, Meredith.
Thank you. We were proud to start our student sweatshirt sponsorship program during orientation. What we did is we sent out an email to all alumni to ask to sponsor a sweatshirt for 1Ls.
We ended up with 105 sponsorships from alumni and had over 200 1Ls pick up their sweatshirts. They were absolutely elated. Not that orientation isn't really vibrant and fun, but they were very excited to get their first bit of swag items. And it's been amazing to see it around campus. And we continue to have our pop-up shop on campus. We also had the pop-up shop during orientation and sold about $9,000 worth of merchandise in about 2 hours. So we're thrilled to keep providing that for our students. These are some events that we have had. We've had Portland, Seattle, and Hawaii chapter launches over the past about month. Charles and Hannah and I were in Portland and Seattle, and then David and Leo were in Hawaii, had wonderful turnouts at these 3 chapters. And what was most amazing was that I would say, I know for the Portland and Seattle, it was brand new alumni that we saw, people that had not been engaged with the law school, and they were thrilled to see us and to hear about the vision of the law school and to hear about everything that's happening with the students. So keep on doing great work with them. These are events that we've had in the past month. We had UC Law and Berkeley Law happy hour on the Sky Deck. Amazing attendance. I didn't realize how much lawyers like to get together and talk and network. They asked and have asked repetitively when our next get together is between our 2 law schools. We've developed a really strong relationship with Berkeley Law, so we're going to continue working on that. We also had thanks to Charan Brahma of the Board of Trustees. He hosted a New York happy hour. And then upcoming next week is our Contra Costa Alumnus of the Year reception that we have yearly. And then something that we all are waiting for every year is Spring Week 2025. We set the date, April 1st through the 6th. We have our Giving Day, our party at City Hall, our reunion jazz brunch, and then our baseball game. Hope that we see all of you there. It is so much fun. Hannah and Charles do such a phenomenal job with it. And it's a great way to connect and give back to the law school. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Mario?
Dr. Jaggard, I just wanted to say something. Thank you to you and your team. You also did a first generation fundraiser for us. I went out to all our alumni. I just really appreciate everything you do, not only for first generation students, but for all our students, as you saw with the sweater. But I can tell you, thanks to that letter, we've received donations already, and we've just received support that, quite frankly, we probably wouldn't have gotten, but for you and your team's efforts. So thank you.
Absolutely. I think we're about up to $6,000 for the first generation program. So we're thrilled to keep our partnership with y'all. And I also wanted to add, all of the events you saw, something that we implemented in the past year, we have a nominal fee for all of our events, $5, $10, and those goes directly to student scholarships. Because of that, we have since July gotten 43 new donors, alumni donors, which is we had 56 total new donors, and 43 of those were because of work that we've done with the Alumni Association. So we're going to keep doing that, keep growing. We're going to keep adding new chapters and affinity groups and keep doing great work to connect our alumni with the law school. Yes.
For the different regional happy hours and events that you guys host, it seems to generally be ad hoc, like when somebody's in town, and proactively organizing that around a certain visit. Is there like a plan to have a more regular cadence of those, and what is the general approach for organization of that?
I'll speak to it generally, and then Charles and Hannah can talk about it. Usually we like to have our chapters have at least one every 6 months, so in the fall and the spring, and then something around the holidays. We do have our new admit events that we work with admissions to have. Those are generally in April, and we have those in San Francisco, LA, sometimes DC, and New York. What we really would like to see from y'all is if you are in an area that has a chapter, to help us with the events and to get really involved either in the chapter leadership or work with the chapters. So that way we can keep things more regular.
Yeah, I was just going to say that with our chapters and affinity groups, we want to create traditions and yearly events, just like you had mentioned. So, for instance, Contra Costa has their one event every year. That's an Alumnus of the Year event. Fresno has the same thing. In DC, David and I went a few years ago to the Kennedy Center. We had a brunch there, which was really well attended. New York has done a virtual museum tour multiple times, but to kind of create those traditions that these chapters do year over year. In Washington, DC, we've also done a baseball game in the past as well. In LA, we've done that, but it is a little bit ad hoc, but we're trying to kind of land the plane and get it to the gate a little bit, if you will, excuse the metaphor, to make sure that they have these year over year. So if you like an event and you want to see it happen again, help us be able to create those events year over year. So we look forward to it, like you see on the screen. When we have Spring Week, we look forward to it year over year, because traditions are important. They provide a tie and connection that's unheralded. And here at the school, we don't have a ton of traditions, and that's why we're here to create those kind of platforms and planks to be able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to reaffirm what Charles and Meredith said. And Charles and I are really happy to work with folks in different areas whenever they, have an event that they'd like to put on. So
it seems also like with the new name, it could be a good time to, kind of
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, more.
Definitely.
Other questions you may have?
Your president. Should we have a little, thank you, Mario, for calling Mayor with Dr. Jaggard. Should we have just a little side since we are ahead of the schedule? Yes. Our very own Meredith Jaggard got her PhD in unbelievably record time. This woman is brilliant. So I think we should all give Meredith a thank you, Mario. Okay, so yes, let's turn to our students, our UMass students.
Hi. So I introduced myself briefly already. So we'll get right into it. Good afternoon, everyone. I am a first-generation law student as well. My parents are immigrant entrepreneurs who've instilled the value of service in me and the importance of giving back to a country that gave them opportunity and giving back to a community that has given them opportunity. And likewise, this community of students right now really need your support. Given that the enrollment fee increase of 7.5% has already been approved for the 2025 to 2026 academic year by the Board of Directors, students today and students tomorrow really need you. This 7.5% increase is a $3,704 increase every semester to the nearly $28,000 in base tuition that every JD student pays every semester. This means $60,000 per academic year in tuition. Without even factoring the cost of living in the city, we pay almost $200,000 for our legal education. And while we recognize the school must respond to rising expenses and slashed state funding, we do not want all of you to miss out on the individual stories of students who will be affected by an increased cost of $3,706 per semester. When students have to increasingly turn away from volunteer public interest opportunities, have to commute farther and farther just to save on rent, and have to reserve their budget for groceries rather than being able to pay journal dues or buying a Barrister's Ball law prom ticket, we really hope that you can each see a role in helping us add value to our legal education when we're already investing so much. UC Law associated students request your increased engagement. Our student body would love to see you attending alumni mixer events, supporting curriculum as adjunct professors, and offering career opportunities to our students. I have a good friend who put together a communications and entertainment journal mixer, I think last semester. And we have very accomplished alumni from a topical journal that we're not able to attend. I think only one faculty alumni attended and one alumni of that journal who already works at the school attended. And so these are the things that we really sincerely hope you can reach out to your classmates, encourage them to think back to their years at this college, and really hopefully remind them to help pay it forward. And even if this board doesn't contribute that as much financially or doesn't work on fundraising as much, being able to increase participation and engagement with the students directly is something that really, really helps us see value in what we're paying for and see value in the school, right? And see value in the days that we spend here and then want to pay it back forward as well later on. UC Law associated students also request your support for our professional development programming specifically. And Valeria, our EVP, external VP, will go into depth. But personally, one of the initiatives that I would really like to launch this year and personally ask you all to participate in is your interest and participation in a UC Law associated students and Board of Governors direct mentorship pairing. Our student government is a purely volunteer organization. We don't get any credit for it. We used to have a meal budget for it that we no longer have either. And so we have, it's very impressive to have 30 students who care a lot, spend their entire lunch hour talking about things for the school, and then going to class without eating lunch. I do that every other Wednesday. And so, yeah, we just really hope to ask for your support. I will be here throughout the meeting and afterwards if you would like to discuss the direct mentorship pairing or any of the other ideas that Valeria is going to introduce for us. So thank you all for your time here today. And please speak with either of us at any time if you're curious about how you can best support student needs and how we can provide more context for you all. So I'll turn it over to Valeria.
Thank you, Millie. Hi, everyone. It's really nice to see so many familiar faces. As most of you know, I ran for re-election this year. I'm a 3L, and I was very happy to be re-elected as the U-Class External Vice President. One of my goals in running for re-election was to continue the work that we started, Kyle and I started last year, and that we've been able to continue with assistance from Meredith and Meredith's team, Charles, Hannah, Liz, and Brianna. And I will speak about some of the projects that we've worked on and that we continue to work on and for which I would like your support. So first, I want to talk about the professional closet, which some of you here have very generously donated, either yours or perhaps your spouse's, suits, dresses, clothes that maybe you are retired and you no longer have a need for. So we continue to collect donations, and we will be collecting donations through November 15th of this year, which will be right before reading period. As a reminder, students begin their applications for 1Ls begin their applications for the summer post 1L after finals. So they start working on that around December and January, and then starting January interviews roll around. So by November 15th, if you are able to rehome some of your gently used items, we would love them at that time. It'll be the perfect time, the last time that students will be able to have access to that before they go off for the winter break. So just a few points on that. So we have provided over 100 suits in the past year to students. That includes also not including dresses, women's jackets, and even ties. Some of you may know our wonderful Board of Trustee, John Keppel, and he has a fantastic tie collection, has donated over 20 ties, and he said there are more to come. So we started Keppel's Tie Corner, and it's very, very cute. We launched it last week, and it was very popular. I have some great pictures that I'll be sharing with you of our students with his ties, and I gave him a quick tour downstairs earlier into our closet, and he just pointed out some of the ties and said, I wore that for a depot that was really successful, or like this trial. And so that's the kind of good juju that we want, and that will help our students really just dress for success and feel confident as they go to interviews or have a Zoom call or join a networking event. Additionally, we've started another initiative this year, thanks in part to some suggestions that you have provided in the past, including about having students bring in their own clothes to swap. And so we started that last week, and we had over 10 students bring in jackets, pants, skirts, and more now that they are aware, right, of the efforts, they are interested in continuing to pay it forward. And so this is also how we can continue to stay in a sustainable way. Our goal remains to institute a permanent closet space on campus. And so I would love it if it were organized sort of like a boutique where students can just drop in 24/7. And, you know, if they need a last minute jacket, a last minute tie, for an interview, or maybe there's a networking event that they didn't hear about until the very same day and they don't have time to go home, or maybe they haven't gone to the dry cleaners, right? There's endless types of examples that I can provide you. But at the end of the day, there is just a need. And if we're able to work with the powers that be, David, or you, if you have ideas for how we could make this possible, I'm very interested in having a space in the Hong Student Lounge, which is on the first floor of this building, and just opening that up, maybe having a curtain so that students can try clothes on there, and a mirror. And we have some of that infrastructure, we just need the space for it. Because currently, students only have access whenever we bring the clothes out to the quad area or to the lounge, and then we have to monitor that, we stock that. And so the U classroom, that's where it lives, is first, it's a small room, it's getting a little crowded, but also we just want it to be accessible at all times. And again, with the ongoing collection request, specifically, we need suits for men with longer arms. For some reason, we have jackets that are just like cropped on a lot of men, and broad shoulders as well. So if that is you, or a colleague, or your spouse, relative, please send them our way. If you have a friend, a colleague who maybe is going on family leave or has come back from family leave and has clothing that they're no longer interested in wearing, I will be happy to collect that from you. I can come to you, or we can coordinate a time to meet here. Meredith and her staff team has also volunteered to coordinate and come down to the street and pick the clothes up and then give them over to us. So it is a team effort. Really appreciate you guys. Then regarding our professional headshots, this is something that we've gone back and forth as to the need, and we've explored different options, but our students consistently give us the feedback that they want professional headshots taken so that they can update their LinkedIn, they can update sometimes OCI or our employment websites require a professional headshot. And so students, specifically also just like first gen and other diverse students, really want to make the best impression that they can, and sometimes that will be right with the proper picture. And something we started doing last year was using our spaces here to really place ourselves on the map of where we are and just display our beautiful campus. And so we have hosted the photography events outside in the sky deck with City Hall in the background, and then also here in the Deb Colloquium. And that has been really successful. And this morning we were able to get 4 sponsorships from the Board of Trustees for 4 different days of headshots. And 2 of those days are forthcoming in October, and then the other 2 will be in the spring. Regarding our 6 at 6, we continue to work hard to plan events to engage students for where they can network and develop relationships with alumni in a more intimate setting. And so thanks in part to Meredith's great suggestion, we are trying to venture into just a rebranding of 6 at 6. So more to come on that. But as a reminder, 6 at 6 is not just an opportunity to take students for a dinner. It's an opportunity also to host students for coffee, to host students in your home, to go on a brunch, to go on a hike, to go to a sports game. I know that David Casarubias and Hanson Bridget has hosted students before for a Warriors game, and people still talk about that. So did you attend that?
No, but it's true. People still talk
Yeah.
about it. It's legendary. Yeah.
It is legendary. And so that's the kind of engagement that we want to continue to have, and that we know will motivate our students to come back in 5-10 years. And as Millie said, give it back. And, I'm sure some part of the reason why you're all here today is because you had a similar experience when you were here. And so, I will be passing around a sign-up sheet, and hopefully some of you can sign up to host an event. It does not have to be local. We hosted some really successful events last year, specifically during spring break. We went a little bit national, and we hosted an event in New York, one in LA. We hosted San Diego and here in San Francisco, and just had a diverse opportunities. I think we hosted our first ever Women in Entertainment Law. Board of Governors Miriam, I can't remember her last name right now. Okay, yes, she works for Warner Brothers, and she hosted students, and that was super successful. And so if that's something that, you're not here, or you're on Zoom and you would like to host students, wherever you will be during spring break or during Christmas break, please let us know. I'm happy to help coordinate. I make the reservations or plan whatever you need me to plan, and I will be happy to do that.
I can also add to that. We have students, UC Law have students in DC as well. So
yes, we do. Yes, we do. And we also have students who some travel. So earlier I gave Dean Fagman this example, but for the Hawaii chapter, we have a lot of students who go to Hawaii during spring break. And we have other students like myself, for instance, who travel on the Center for Social Justice pro bono trips. And I will be co-leading one again this year. And so we have maybe 6 to 8 programs that are already planned all around the United States. And so there are a number of opportunities to host students, not just, where if you live somewhere, but if you're traveling somewhere too. And some of the backgrounds that we're looking for are environmental law, general counsel, plaintiffs representation, individual representation, public interest, public service. So please let me know if you're interested. And additionally, this is as of a couple of weeks ago, we have partnered with the Center for Social Justice to sponsor 3 public interest events. They will sponsor $150 per event, which goes a long way because for a lot of public interest and public service folks, it is a financial burden to host the students. And so it is extremely generous of the Center for Social Justice, and we will be launching that in November. Okay, thank you.
For that fantastic presentation. Yeah, there will be more. I mean, as governors, this is really sort of what our role is, right? We're the alumni, and our role is to foster relationships with our students, our current students, but develop them into active and busy contributing alumni as well. So thank you very much. Yeah, David.
I have a question. So for U class, is there an alumni advisor for U class? Or a faculty advisor?
okay. We do not have a faculty advisor as far as I'm aware of. We do have Assistant Dean of Students Miguel Zavala is our point of contact. As far as alumni advisor, we have been in contact with Tim Mills and Kelly Kelp, right?
Yes, they are our liaisons. So Tim Mills and Kelly Matayoshi.
Okay.
They are, yeah. They are our liaisons with the foundations. But no, we don't have a specific like alumni mentor, or we don't even actually have an alumni network for UClass, and that's something that we've talked in the past.
Discussed, yeah.
But we also have a lot of other projects that I guess are more immediate attention. But if that's something that you're interested, I know that you're on our staff. I know that you're super involved with Moot Court, which really appreciate. So if that's something that you're interested in exploring, I would be more than happy to chat with you.
Yeah, maybe we can talk about it if we have some way to, like you mentioned, there was this mixer for one of the journals, but like, I didn't know about that. Like, and I don't know how I would know about that other than if we build some sort of connection so that we can make this group aware of what's going on, and then we can reach out to our classmates.
Any opportunity to plug the online network, but that would be a great thing to post on there. It's true. QR code if anyone needs to join.
Terrific. Are all of you aware of the student of the class agent program? Is there anybody in this room that's not aware of the class agent program? So you're 2018 too, and you're 2015. So the class agent program is not a Board of Governors initiated project. It was the trustees who initiated this project, but it is being managed by Brianna mostly, right? Is that right? And Charles, sorry, Charles. Yeah, that's true. I always talk to you first, don't I? So the idea is to get every class, and for the older ones, kind of maybe groups of classes that we're having troubles, but every class should in theory have its own class agent. And then we send emails quarterly or what. So I'm my class agent, and to me it's funny, like why wouldn't I would have thought there'd be, you know, sharp elbows trying to be the class agent. I was so shocked. Like, yeah, I'll do it. Like I get access to all of my entire classes, email addresses. Yeah, bring it to me. And it has been so fun. So if you are not getting emails from your class agent, then contact me or contact our staff and see if there is a class agent for your class, and if not, if you want to volunteer to be it. So it's a super easy job, first of all, because I get an email that's drafted for me. It's the bones of it, and then I just tailor it and I personalize it and make my own. And I'm in contact with a lot of my classmates, so I'll like add bits about them personally to tell each other and stuff. And it's been really great. But anyway, it's a good way. An additional way to keep involved in what's going on.
As you were describing it, I realized my husband is
your class agent.
It's me. I'm the
You're getting your emails. Okay, then. All right. So moving on, we are even ahead of schedule. This is awesome. So, David,
Get to talk for an hour and a half.
Yeah, sure. Take your time.
So again, just thank you for all the work that you do on behalf of the college, on behalf of the students, staff, and faculty. So I intend my dean's report mainly just to tell you a little bit about what I've been up to and where my priorities are, but also to answer any questions that you might have. First of all, very importantly, although she had a previous engagement, but high on my list was getting a new chief of advancement, and Julie Jordan comes to us. She's just been here for a week, but has already hit the ground running, and I think will just be absolutely fantastic. So very much looking forward to working with her in the years to come. I think that she will just be absolutely first rate, and as she gets to know our alumni, I think we'll get some real momentum as we move forward. We have a great entering class. We aim this year for about 400. We always expect a little bit of melt off of that. So we currently have 392 enrolled 1Ls. They are extraordinarily enthusiastic and dedicated. We had a great orientation. It's always interesting to watch the students go through orientation because there's a level of sort of unbridled enthusiasm, and then they get to civil procedure and they read Benoit versus Neff, and they realize that law school is actually a fairly difficult endeavor, but we all got through it, and they'll get through it, and they will thrive, and we will find opportunities for them to realize their career dreams and their career aspirations. I will say I share good news and I share bad news. We had a little bit of challenge this year. I'll go back when I first started. One of the first things I was told was that out of a class of 315, we had lost 48 students to transfer out. This is back in 2016, and immediately we had to attend to that. June Sakamoto did a fantastic job of creating an honor society and really giving props to folks that were doing very well in law school. I created retention scholarships to award additional merit-based scholarships for those who were doing well and were in danger of transferring out. Over the years, as we moved from 315 to 400, class of 400, we reduced the transfer out to about 18 to 20 a year, which is a good move. I'd like to not lose any students since they're incredible students. All of our students are fantastic, but these are students that are going to pass the bar exam and do great things. This year, with I think the rankings, which don't get me started on how ridiculous U.S. News is, they change their algorithm almost every year, and there's tremendous variability, and they mean nothing at all. But certainly, some people, including prospective students, including current students, put too much weight on them. So this year we lost 34 students to transfer out. I will tell you that they were making fundamentally irrational decisions, and we talked to the students about the judgments they make. I'll just give you one example that actually is somewhat illustrative of some of the irrationality of the decisions. A woman transferred this year from UC Law to Georgetown, and she would have basically had most of her tuition paid through both needs-based and merit-based scholarships. She's paying $80,000 a year to go to Georgetown. Her dream, which I understand actually because I had a conversation with her father, who's a graduate of UC Law, who's actually now paying $80,000 a year at Georgetown, so he's the one footing the bill. But her dream was to intern or extern at the U.S. Attorney's Office with Izzy Ramsey, who I know very well, and I meet with every other week, and eventually to have the opportunity to work at the U.S. Attorney's Office. So not only was she graduated near the top of our class, had the opportunity to extern in the Northern District of the U.S. Attorney's Office, and now she's trying to figure out a way to get from Georgetown back to the Northern District. And again, that's just basic irrationality that's driven by the ridiculousness that somehow Georgetown is a better school than us. They don't have better facilities, they don't have better teachers, they don't have better opportunities to take advantage of externships and other things. But the U.S. News silliness has a way of infecting even the smart. It's a very bright student, obviously, but it has a way of infecting even the brightest mind. So that's something that we fight against. My philosophy, which you've heard me say before, is look, we're going to create a great law school. We have great buildings, we have great clinics, we have great centers, we have fantastic faculty, we have students that you've seen that are second to none, and eventually with the academic village and our partnerships, that reputation will become a national reputation, but there's only so much we can do in getting there, but I have absolutely no doubt that we will get there. And I'm happy to answer questions about any of that in U.S. News as well. I might need a good criminal defense lawyer if I ever do burn down U.S. News. That's now an admission from an evidence standpoint. Anyway, we've been very active in alumni engagement as well as engagement with other universities. I just got back last week from a trip to Tokyo, Seoul, and Honolulu. Of course, I have to stop in Honolulu because it's on the way back, so that's very important. But we had great meetings in Tokyo with alumni. We actually have a lot of alumni in Tokyo, both LOM and JD. We had a great meeting. We met with partner universities there. We met with the Japanese Supreme Court, which is just a fascinating and exciting opportunity. I will say Tokyo is a most remarkable city. I grew up in New York. It's like New York done right. So somebody like said, okay, we're going to create New York, but we're going to do it right. That's Tokyo. And I love New York, but Tokyo is just amazing. Then we went out to Seoul. We have a lot of alumni in Seoul. We had a great dinner with alumni there. And then we also met with 2 universities, again, to create exchange programs. Our students go there and their students come here. We already have a relationship with Yonsei University in Seoul. And we were talking to the Great University, Seoul National University, about creating a relationship with them. And then in Hawaii, we had terrific meetings. We had Dan Vermillion hosted an event. About 35 Hawaii alumni attended. Liz Chance was there, Leo Martinez, myself. It may have been the first time, this is an interesting statistic, and actually more than everybody who RSVP'd to that event came. I don't know if I've ever been someplace where every RSVP actually showed up. And Leo actually rented a couple of rooms on the airplane that weren't invited. So we actually had more than the RSVPs come. And we had great dinners with George and Cheryl Hetherington, a great dinner with Brooke Kabayashi. I got to go out on Charlie Hunter's boat, which of course was an alumni engagement, very important to our advancement activities. So it's great. In terms of the future, I'm going to be in New York in November, visiting the alumni, and I'll be in London after that. Also visiting with alumni in one of our partner universities there. I am planning to have a pretty busy spring. I want to get to DC. I really want to spend some time in Los Angeles, both on the west side and downtown, and maybe Pasadena, but also Orange County and San Diego. We have such a rich alumni group in that area. And then just continue. We have a number of alumni in Dallas and Houston. Leo and I will probably do a trip out to Dallas and Houston as well as Chicago. I'm going to leave to David Seward talking about the campus academic village and what's happening with 198 and 100 McAllister, the tower. And then, of course, the whole idea of the academic village is creating partnerships with various universities. Of course, the cornerstone of that relationship or that vision is UCSF. UCSF has a 20-year tenancy for 1/3 of the units of the 198 building. So it's wonderful to see folks walking around in scrubs, medical, pharmacy, dental, nursing students all living with law students. And the most remarkable thing is their shuttle actually stops at the corner of Hyde and McAllister. I'd say since I was the director of the consortium, for more than a decade, we tried to get the shuttle to stop on our campus. And when I talked to the chancellor at UCSF, he always said, that's above my pay grade. I can't do anything for you. But then with the housing, the shuttle does now stop on our campus. And it's available for all our students and not just those that are UCSF students. So our students can get around town on the UCSF shuttle. And of course, UCSF now has basically taken over the city of San Francisco. They now are St. Francis. They developed an incredible campus down in Bishop Bay. They're rebuilding the hospital up on Parnassus. So it's a fantastic university and a great partner to us. We have a great relationship not only with UCSF now, but UCLA, Department of Education. We had a very generous grant from the state of California for what's called the California Institute on Law, Neuroscience, and Education. We do the law. UCSF does the neuroscience and UCLA does the education, and we are collaborating on lots of different projects. It's really a nice illustration of what we want to be about, being interdisciplinary, but being interdisciplinary with some of the great universities in the world, which are, of course, part of the University of California system. We're in conversation with San Francisco State about they're possibly using some of our facilities for their business program as well as their health policy program. You may have seen a lot of students around today. They're mostly UC Davis Masters of Science students in business analytics. So if you want to know a little bit about statistics and math, they're the ones to ask because you don't want to ask law students about math and statistics. But it's a great program, and we are actually looking for ways that we have some co-curricular opportunities for our students to get up to speed on some basic science and statistics and business analytics. AI and big data are the future, and lawyers, I think, need to really be introduced to that subject. And I think UC Davis has already built a program in that domain. We're starting to have conversations with the University of California, San Diego. Morris Ratner, our provost and academic dean, and I met with the provost, number 2 person at San Diego. They don't have a law school, but they're very law and policy oriented. And so there may be opportunities for us to create pipelines from their political science department or collaborations with their global policy and strategy school or their business school and having certificate programs. So we're just starting to really look into those opportunities with UCSD. We have a 3+3 program with Cal Poly that's just getting off the ground, and again trying to create a pipeline. Cal Poly is a source of a lot of our JD students, and I think that could be a very fruitful partnership. And then we have a 3+3 with Spelman, one of the great HBCUs. And we're developing that relationship and looking for other opportunities. And we continue to build out a relationship with the historically Black colleges and universities, HBCUs. Mario's just come back from some visits there, as well as I mentioned earlier, you visit the University of Georgia, and that they are quite aware that Vice President Harris went to our institution, and we're starting to get applications now from schools that we didn't historically get. In Georgia, we don't have, our football team is not quite as good as theirs, so we're stepping down a little bit to go here, but it would be a great opportunity. And again, if you're living in Atlanta, San Francisco, I think we'll talk really nice in comparison. So we could be a good place for them to go. And hopefully I have a few minutes to answer any questions that you might have. Yeah.
This may go into a little bit of what Dave Stewart talks about, but the person who transferred to DC, I've now come to San Francisco 2 weeks in a row, and I see no evidence of the doom loop that is still often talked about. Has some of that come into some of the conversations with students transferring at all, even if they stay more local, like going to Berkeley or that other school down in the South Bay that's a junior university?
Yeah, I think that when I was traveling, I kept getting the doom loop. In fact, the dean at Yonsei University in Seoul said, he made this comment, which we corrected them on. They said, I visited San Francisco 15 years ago, and it was the most beautiful city that I'd been in. It was really fun, but I understand that it's, fallen on hard times. I was like, no, it hasn't fallen on hard times. He used another expression, but I said, you go to the marina, you go to Rush Hill, Nob Hill, Noe Valley. It's so active, it's so vibrant, it's still the most beautiful city. Sure, Union Square is not quite as active. The Civic Center down Market to the Embarcadero, but you're on the Embarcadero and every restaurant is filled. There are people skateboarding and roller skating, doing everything on the Embarcadero. So I think again, but they all were really interested in one other thing as well. But they're very interested in AI, and they do see San Francisco as the center capital where AI is and where it's going. So I do think that one advantage that we've had from changing the name, at least in my experience now in Japan and Korea, was that now they know where we are. It used to be that they'd say, they'd meet with Berkeley or UCLA or USC, and they knew where those schools were, but they would always ask, where's Hastings, California? Now the fact that we're UC San Francisco, they know that we're in the center of the universe for where technology is going, where entrepreneurship is king. So I think that that's going to help us down the road. But the media is what the media is, and the doom loop sort of still has a little bit of resonance, certainly around the world, and I think a little bit around the United States as well. But San Francisco has gone through booms and busts. We'll get back. I'm totally optimistic about that. I do think that, just again, not to shy away from not so much bad news, but reality news, the Tenderloin is a challenge. And so, and David will talk about this, we're not at 100% occupancy, not because people don't love the building, they don't love the units, It's a little expensive because it's project-based funding, so we get complaints about the cost of housing, but it's actually still below market for San Francisco. But there are complaints about, you go out at 9 or 10 o'clock at night and it just feels like a tough neighborhood to walk around in. And I get that. We are working as hard as we can with the city and county. San Francisco needs to do something about the Tenderloin. That's the bottom line. And we need to keep the pressure on. We've sued the city and county. I meet with the mayor and working with the chief of police, the U.S. attorney, the DA, Brooke Jenkins is absolutely fantastic. And we're doing everything we can to be a partner. And it's not that we're not compassionate to the people that are on the street. I just personally don't think we're doing anybody any favors by letting people live on the street or be mentally ill on the street or be drug addicted on the street. We ought to be more compassionate than that and find services and opportunities for those folks. And I will say that Walker Maloney and Cliff and his colleagues have been absolutely fantastic partners in our efforts to work with the city to make the Tenderloin a safer and more secure place for our students. So I would say it's more that local thing that probably hurt us the most, and that's something that Urban Alchemy, our street ambassadors, have made a real difference in the immediate frontage of the school. But if you go 2-3 blocks north, drive down Hyde or Jones or Leavenworth, or go down east down McAllister toward Market, it deteriorates pretty quickly. And that's unfortunate and needs to change.
At the same time, 2 blocks west, you see all the ballet school kids just all around, frequenting everywhere. So
and it is interesting because go block to block, and it changes pretty dramatically. Yeah. Right. Any other questions? Back over to Kelly.
All right, thank you. I am going to turn it over now to Dave Owen, our Associate Dean for Research, who I see has joined us on Zoom.
So hi, everybody. I'm going to give a quick presentation about, can you all hear me okay?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, good. Sorry. I'm going to give a quick presentation about research at the law school. Bear with me. Oops.
You're breaking up, Dave.
Second, I'm going to share my screen and get it started. Switch to a different internet.
Let's see if we should go back to him. Okay, so for those of you online, we're going to come back to Dave Owen and go to our third David in the lineup, David Seward. On the academic village update, and then we'll come back to Owen when he gets to better internet service.
Okay, thank you very much. You can never have too many Daves.
Never have too many Daves.
Okay, well, thank you all very much. Let me share my screen, which God willing will cooperate. I'm going to give a presentation that was given to the Society of College and University Planners in Seattle. Here. And I think David, the other Dave has the screen. So
we're trying to work on it.
So you should be able to overwrite it. If you share it.
Try to share it because it might knock it out.
Yeah. No, it's not letting me.
I just stopped the share. I'm in a better spot, so I'm ready to go if you want me, but it sounds like we're going to David Seward, so I'll come back around.
If you don't mind, I won't be too long.
Totally fine. Sorry about that.
That's okay. So, great. This is a presentation that was made to the Society of College and University Planners in Seattle by UC Law and architect Perkins of Will. And this sort of relates to the academic village and the audience in Seattle was sort of urban planners. So there is some element about the neighborhood going back to the 1950s. So it's kind of a hybrid presentation, if you will. I will not take too much, but so this is the guys that are left, the architects for both the 198 project and 100 McAllister. They were chosen for 100 McAllister because they were the same team that had done the OPAC Bell building at 140 New Montgomery. The same architects that done that building. So firstly, the student housing market, a big difference between UC Law San Francisco and other institutions, primarily UC Berkeley, is we're able to get things done with a high degree of community support and alignment. And the school's relationship with the neighborhood has not always been favorable, and that'll be subject of the next part of my presentation. But we've gotten through those rough patches, and by virtue of sort of the leadership of the school, our geography, our legal status being affiliated but independent of the University of California, we have this combination of variables that really is conducive to a major development on big scale with strong political and community support. And Senator Scott Wiener is one of our local supporters, as has been Phil Ting, Mayor Matt Haney, and the like. So as contrasted to the University of California, Berkeley, where they literally have, I can't keep track of how many iterations on People's Park. But that said, where did it all begin? Everything has a beginning. So here we are, a urban campus, small standalone law school, not a great business model, but we do have the affiliation with the University of California. The independent status also gives us a line item budget in Sacramento, which is a huge advantage because we do not have to politic our way through the University of California system, the Office of the President, the Regents. We have our own board of directors with analogous powers and authorities as of the Regents. But we weren't always here. UC Law, amazing for a school that was established in 1878. The school did not have a permanent home until 1955, 1954. Between the period of 1879 to 1953, the school kicked around like a vagrant itinerant. We were in City Hall, the Grant Building, Van Ness Avenue, downtown. But in 1954, the David Snodgrass built Snodgrass, wasn't Snodgrass all that, but 198 McAllister, the school's first home. That piece of real estate success did not go that well. By the time, and this again, history is, most history is bad, just by virtue of what it is. But the school had a very expansionist vision in the late 1970s, early 1980s that triggered a broad pushback from the local community, from the political community, from the media. Keep in mind, though, that this was an era when the redevelopment work in San Francisco was sort of being reflected upon as not perhaps a good idea. The demolition of Japantown, all of the, actually at that point in time, the tear downs in Yerba Buena were still ongoing, by the redevelopment agency. So it kind of hit a wall, of the Fillmore district as well. But the school persevered, and in 1979 bought McAllister Tower, surplus federal property. Notwithstanding urban legend, which has it sold for $1, it was actually a $1.2 million purchase, facilitated by Walter Shorenstein with then Dean Marvin Anderson, who later went on to establish the University of Hawaii's law school. But it was a big deal. The school was recognizing that being exclusively a commuter campus was not a beneficial or desirable status to have. If you think of, great law schools, you really don't think of, you think of schools in an educational setting, and there are few, if any, classic commuter campuses, which the school was until the late 1980s, 1970s. So when they bought the building, they did it wide eyes open. There was a recognition even then of the building's seismic deficiencies, but risk analysis was undertaken, and they proceeded to the first project. The city, the state, the college bought all the other land as well, because you got to keep in mind at that point in time, up until 1980, it was just 198 McAllister in the tower. This building was completed in 1980. 200 McAllister was completed in 1980. At this point in time, there were 1,500 students. The school had broad expansion aspirations for what was then known as the West Block. At one point, the college owned every piece of land between here, 198 and the State Building, with the exception of the power plant and the Abigail Hotel. School had it all. They bought it. That'd be the next slide. But they were using HUD, housing and urban development funding, as well as other funds that they should not have used. Student scholarships. Well, so at this point in time, I was working for the State Judicial Council, and Chief Justice then was Justice Malcolm Lucas. I worked for Rosa Byrd as well. By virtue of all these transgressions, the board of directors lost its power to self-perpetuate. Legislation was enacted under Governor Brown, and up till that point, the Chief Justice of the state of California was an ex officio member of the board of directors, which really upset the Chief Justices of the state of California, because the school was in the press all the time. Justice Byrd was not enthusiastic about being on the board. Justice Lucas even less so, and so they got that law changed. So this again is the reduced version, but the land was also purchased with scholarship money. Many of you here, when you were students, you may remember some of the saga about the parking garage. It was quite an effort to develop the site, and it's again, it took almost 9 years to complete in 2 phases, but it was quite contentious, and there were different views of the best use of the land. I think there was also some effort to compel the college to liquidate the property and sell it. The board of directors didn't go there. But this is Supervisor Chris Daly, who was arrested at a board meeting in 2002. Those were the good old days. Also arrested at the board meeting were 10 other people, some alums, a nun. Randy Shaw was one of those arrested. Kelly Cullen, brother Kelly Cullen was there as well. A lot of drama. But that triggered this is the old law news. The board of directors, at one point, put the project on pause, and as the April Fool's edition of the old law news, this got published. And those were actually the trailers that were used when we were renovating 198 McAllister. That was our academic footprint for a couple of years. But that said, this sets the stage for the long-range campus plan. So here we are again. All of these. All of these projects, all these buildings on the right were acquired by the 1980s. In 1994, the school sold these properties on McAllister and on Larkin, and used that money to help sort of dig out from under the financial obligation that the this is the cleaned up version. Jerome, you could be at the Contra Costa thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give you guys the full version of it.
Oh, yeah, that'll be fun.
But we got in trouble with the Department of Justice and before my time, but the state stripped the board of directors the responsibility of managing the investment funds and established a new trust that had a 10-year term. And they compelled the school to convey to graduates what they might have received had that funding not been used for real estate. So I was watching all this from next door with shock and awe. And so when I came here, I've been very meticulous about these matters. So here we are. And so the project that got built as the most recent addition to the academic village is the 198 project. Again, debt issuance of $330 million, 656 units, ground floor retail, academic space. The project was planned prior to the pandemic. So all the financial structures were developed prior to the pandemic. Prior to the pandemic, rent structures were set at 25% below market. During the construction, there were a lot of supply chain issues. But at the end of the day, we were 30 days late on project delivery. And on a budget of $282 million, we contributed an extra $300,000 of capital to close out the project with no legal claims or controversy. And so that is done. Last year, we ran at 60% occupancy. This year at 80%. We are covering all of our financial obligations. We're not hitting our 1.2 coverage ratio, but we're a little over 1. So, we're keeping the investors at bay. Interestingly, the initial offering was purchased by about 15 investors. And by that, I mean insurance companies, mutual fund outfits, and the like. So I got to know them, and so they have been very benign. And I think it's more of a reflection of how bad things are downtown. There's a whole bunch of foreclosures that are sort of in the pipeline. But as David notes, a great building, and they got done. And today we have students from about 11 schools. Not big numbers all in, but we have one student from Florida State. A lot of number, over a dozen from USF. We have University of Pacific. We have our 230 contract obligation from UCSF. Again, this is some renderings of the other projects. The 333 project, this building we're in, complete 2016. And then the tower. Let's see what else we got here. So let's get into the weeds. I'm not going to dwell on it, but the units are really a moving condition. So we just had a meeting last week with Minerva Institute, which is a international global footprint university. The bonding that occurs at the residential level, not the academic level. All the teaching's online. The community building is residential. They got a surprise from immigration and naturalization services. Students living outside of the U.S. more than 5 months on a foreign visa run the risk of not being able to get back in. So they have a large international student cohort. If they do a semester in Tokyo, that is now potentially problematic. So they're looking at bringing a lot of their cohorts back into the country until this sorts itself out. So we have a major opportunity there. One of the things we learned from the mistakes made by UCSF in their Minnesota Street project, they were really trying to cut corners. The no air conditioning, no chilled air. We thought that was ill-advised given climate change. So we invested the money, and it worked out well. I won't bore you with this. This is the plan of finance for the project. We established a joint powers authority that was the issuer of the debt and the owner of the structure itself. UC Law San Francisco is a tenant in the building, although they own land. Hastings. The UC Law Board of Directors controls the Joint Powers Authority by virtue of the appointment authority. So it worked out quite nicely, and the project was very well received in the debt markets. 1.3, 1.2, 1.3 billion dollars of purchase offers for $360 million in debt. So again, sources and uses. Again, important is the rate covenants. That is the key to the stabilization. We need to get a 1.2 coverage ratio on senior bonds in order to be positioned to issue additional debt for the 100 McAllister project. So that has been a thing that has kept me awake at night, but we are making progress. This is even worse. The waterfall, how the money flows into the various reserve funds and ultimately into the surplus fund and to the authority, which can then distribute it back to the college. Let's see here. And this is again more of a financial wonky thing, but it really goes to the core of how this project got funded. Our financial statements are not deeply robust. Again, we don't enjoy the University of California's credit rating. What made us viable in the debt markets was a 20-year occupancy agreement with UCSF. And that 20-year agreement was bankable, and hence we were able to get debt at favorable terms. And again, total all-inclusive interest cost 5.2. The bonds were unrated. That is a polite term for junk bonds. But at the time that we went to market, there weren't a lot of competition. So the bonds again were very, and these are tax exempts, so they were quite well received. Academic partnerships. First and foremost, David Fagman in the Academic Village been our leading salesman for the effort. We have the benefit of geography. These stars, these numbers indicate, it's not very clear, but that is allegedly San Francisco. The star is where we are. And numbers 1 through 7 are the location of major higher ed institutions throughout San Francisco. We're sort of ground zero, and our proximity to Barton Uni, the bus lines, makes us a viable housing option for students at any of these locations. In fact, we have students from all of them except San Francisco State University. Looking to solve that. Again, the Academic Village. Progress to date. Next phase is 100 McAllister Street, the 1929 high-rise, and Local 2, 201, 247 Golden Gate Avenue. Well, this is kind of interesting. This is how UC Davis markets us in their academic materials. So the students that are here today, 100 students, never set foot in Davis. In the first year, they went there for an orientation. They're exclusively here. They've doubled the program size. They spend 3 days a week in our classroom settings, and then the rest of the week in practicums in various employment locations in San Francisco. So this, to me, is all proof of concept. We can apply these same principles to AI, to bioengineering, biotech. We have the proof of the pudding. And that's why Sam Hoggood's been a champion for this project. At times when there was some pushback from his colleagues at UCSF, it's been very helpful. And again, if you walk around the building at 198, you can no longer assume that you're seeing law students out and about. If they have a law book under their arm, it's a good bet they are law students. But our residents, the age, our oldest are a 70-year-old faculty member from UCSF and a 68-year-old librarian. I don't quite get it. But I think they probably have a place out in the country or, you know, in the middle of Idaho or something. And they rent here when they sort of teach at UCSF. So when we talk about, you know, return to work policies, I'm very optimistic for San Francisco writ large, because a lot of people who move to Idaho or Nebraska, even, God knows why, can still maintain employment. But they can still maintain their primary residence and have the pet in San Francisco, and that's now viable because the rents have dropped so much in the city. I am optimistic about the city's recovery. So I'm going to finish this up real quickly. I don't want to run out of time. So UCSF likes us. We have the shuttle bus. We've gotten a lot of awards for the 198 project. My favorite is the Business Times San Francisco Deal of the Year Award, which was made last year at the St. Francis. Next project, 100 McAllister. It's 1929, the building. We are funded and have begun phase 1 of the project, a $100 million seismic upgrade. We are pursuing funding for phase 2. We have qualified for $45 million in federal historic tax credits. Our board of directors in AOK establishing a separate for-profit shell that will give meaning and will give value to these tax credits. That for-profit can then sell them and liquidate those credits. We're pursuing, we hope to be the inaugural program for a new state historic tax credit program. We'll see how that goes next week. But you know, there's a lot of risk with this project, and you know, right now we're covered for phase 1. It will only be a seismic upgrade to UC seismic standards, and then not complete. It'll be the city standards as the base, and most of the building will be even more strengthened than UC standards. But the big nut is phase 2. So we would need $150 million in additional funding, which we hope so the state money would fall into that. And we're seeking funding support from the state of California. I can't say I'm even cautiously optimistic because state finances are still very sporadic. But this is a project that provides housing for all of Bay Area, you know, students, faculty, staff. It addresses a historical icon. It promotes the redevelopment of the mid-market tenderloin communities and the activation of those communities. And you know, the governor has a couple of years left in office, and he's been, you know, Gavin Newsom's been very supportive of the city and of the school. And I'm confident that if they can help us, they will. So that's it. Happy to take any questions. Here's the Great Hall, which is this is our conceptual. But then we have our Unite Here project, which is the footprint for future campus expansion. Happy questions. Otherwise, I'm going to hand it off to the other Dave.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Just to be able to lease in the building and in the 100 building once that's complete, is it the requirement that you just have to be enrolled or a faculty member in any basically university or
Affiliated. You have to be affiliated.
Gotcha. Okay.
And that's a very, very broad rubric. We have UCS staff. We did have UC Law staff in the building. In the 100 McAllister building, we're going to have a lower price point. We have a lot of single occupancy here, which are more expensive. We'll go to a pod concept, reach out to the community colleges, and really try to create the full academic village with the local 2 site in a perfect world, teacher housing. Take a sort of a Big Ten approach and try to create an academics village zone in this part of the Tenderloin, in a sense, rebrand the Tenderloin, at least this portion of the Tenderloin, because the Tenderloin includes Little Saigon. That's the Tenderloin, but you don't call it the Tenderloin, you call it Little Saigon. My hope for the future that this part of the neighborhood be branded academic village. And it would get a lot of support from the community, from shopkeepers, restaurants, bars, and the like.
Dave, this might be an in the weeds question, but sometimes school districts and community college districts make a big deal out of being able to refinance those bonds over time. I recognize now would probably not be a favorable time to do so, but is that an option for us given the complicated structure of them, or is that?
We can refinance the series 10-year hold period on our debt.
Okay.
So we have a limitation on that. But it's not an impediment, going forward.
Got it. And I know it's one of those weird things. Sometimes those school districts and community colleges are able to undertake that negotiation, not in a public meeting. And I was curious if we have that same option, even though the public meeting of the board of directors does.
I really believe in transparency.
I do too. Yeah.
No, I'm not just blowing smoke here.
Yeah.
I'm not aware of being able to do these transactions. You can have the negotiations in closed session.
Yeah.
You can have the discussions. You can do all that stuff. Maybe the rules are different for a joint powers authority.
Yeah.
I've embraced the view that so unless there's a specific carve out from open meeting and public records act type things, I'm going to assume that exists.
Yeah, I was just curious because there was that different authority that was created. Yeah.
Sometimes people abuse those authorities.
Yeah.
And with unhappy outcomes.
David, would you say a little bit more about the last slide? The new, not new building, but was it 201?
Oh, the Union Local 2 Hall?
Yeah.
Just wrapped up the sequel process for that. Let's see. Pardon me. I hope you guys have seen the 198 building. It's really astounding.
Yeah, for anybody who hasn't had a chance to check it out, I mean, it's so beautiful.
These are real pictures. The other ones are architectural rendering. This is a real room. I'm sorry. Let me go to the map. So we have site control over 27,000 square feet parcel at 201, 247 Golden Gate Avenue. It's an option agreement with United Here Local 2, who are just, what, did I pass that, David? Yeah. No, that's not. Back.
Yeah.
Behind. It's here somewhere. Yeah, that's not a great shot. Let's use that. We'll use this. Yeah. So that red, it's right across the old YMCA. It's a quarter of a city block, 27,000 square feet. We have full entitlements. We have a deal with the city, a written deal that allows us to entitle up for things that are not academic, that are not governmental, for up to 30% of the building mass. Building mass could include up to 30% of bowling alley, whatever. So it gives us some flexibility. They're great partners to work with, and Brianna Baylor, our chief operating officer, ran the sequel with not one negative comment. But again, I think it just shows how well regarded the school is, as well as Local 2 is in the neighborhood. So that's sort of a future project. We really don't have a well-defined project plan for it. It's sort of expansion space in the event of. Anything else? Okay.
All right, well, thank you for that. I agree with Kathy. If you haven't seen the new building, you should definitely get a tour after this meeting because it is spectacular. Let's go back to Dave Owen if we can. Dave, are you available? Yes, thanks.
Yes, here I am. All right, so let's try this again. Hopefully I've got a better signal now. Okay, So I'm going to talk a little bit about research at UC Law SF. And just by way of introduction, I'm a professor on the faculty. I'm also the Associate Dean for Research. I've been in that position since the beginning of last year. And the Associate Dean for Research is typically a position that rotates every few years among faculty members. So several of my current colleagues have held it before I did. So I'm going to spend a couple of minutes talking about why we do research, why that is part of our role as faculty and as staff as well, as you will see, and then a little bit about some of the research output from the school. And then I will talk at the end about how alumni can engage with these efforts and get involved if they're interested. Why we research. I'll give a couple of reasons why this is an important part of what professors do. So one is it is a core part of our institutional mission. We're an institution of higher learning, and producing useful knowledge for the world is a core part of what we do. But that can seem a little abstract. So let me make it a little bit more specific about some of the reasons why that is important to us. One reason is that the research what we do provides benefits to courts. It can help courts come up with better ways of resolving the cases before them. And the past year gives a couple of good examples of that. So sorry, this is like the super text heavy slide, but I put the highlights in red here. And I'll just tell you what you're looking at. On the left, you can see a transcript from oral argument in a case called Diaz versus United States. And a major subject of discussion at this oral argument was a brief authored by Matt Coles and Emily Murphy on our faculty with a colleague at Utah, and signed by a whole bunch of different evidence professors, including David Fagman, and that built on years of research that those evidence professors, particularly David Fagman, had done. And it was very important, not just to Justice Jackson, that's the example you're seeing here, but it seemed to be important to multiple members of the court in giving them an important way of understanding this case. Similarly, on the right, you can see a decision that came out of the Supreme Court, 9-0 decision decided this past term. What you can't see here, but you'll have to take my word for it, is that this was driven by Professor Scott Dodson. This is a case that he handled. It was brought to his Center for Litigation and Courts. Normally, Scott is more of a traditional researcher, but he decided this fits so well with the mission of the center and with his own research that he decided to handle the case. He did not himself argue it, an affiliated faculty member did, but he wrote the briefs, masterminded the process, and again, won 9-0. So these are just two examples, but they're fun examples because you can see particularly, they show our influence in a particularly prominent way. Beyond that, not all legal research is for courts. It can also be for fellow professors for helping them teach. And a lot of it also is oriented towards policymakers and the public. And again, just a few examples of that here. At the top left, you see Robin Feldman testifying before Congress, which is something she does a lot, in addition to talking to agencies. And a lot of that comes out of her research on intellectual property and drug pricing. Joan Williams, who is now distinguished faculty, retired faculty, but who's been with us for years, and her Center for Work-Life Law have produced a lot of research that is designed to help companies in very concrete ways be more welcoming places for a more diverse workforce. The bottom left, I'm one of the experts referred to in that headline. It dealt with water issues coming out of California's Sacramento-San Joaquin Bay Delta. And again, these are just a few examples of many that we would put forth of ways in which the research we do is helpful to legislators, to administrative agencies, to other policymakers, to private companies. Finally, there are significant benefits to our students. I think most of us who teach could tell stories of ways in which research has informed our understanding of the subjects we teach, often deepened it, sometimes complicated it. And again, I'll give a good example here. This is a quote from John Abel, who is one of my colleagues on the faculty. And again, it's a long quote, but you can get the good stuff in the red. And what he's basically saying is an empirical research project that he did transformed the way he taught some criminal law subjects in the classroom, and also gave him a whole lot of additional materials that he could bring into classroom discussions to inform students. And again, I don't think this is an outlier. This is an experience that a lot of us have had in one way or another of research making us better professors, better classroom professors. So what are we doing? What is the research output of the school? And again, I'll just give you some examples here. A lot of people think of law professors writing law review articles, and that is, of course, a big part of what we do. You can see a couple of examples of that here. We also write a lot of articles that get published in peer-reviewed journals, maybe more than is typical of a law faculty. And part of that is because we have a lot of people writing in areas like health law or sometimes environmental law, where there's a lot of crossover between the work that legal academics do and the work done in other disciplines. And so I think it's a point of pride for us that we do well in peer-reviewed literature as well as in the traditional law reviews. And then we also write books. And so one of the highlight books of last year is by Professor Hadar Avram. And this was a book about the debacle that was California's carceral system's response to the COVID crisis. And then finally, we try to take the research we're doing and make it more accessible by doing things like blog posts and op-eds, things that bring it to a broader audience. And then, of course, research isn't just about writing. We also spend time presenting our research. Here you see Professor Benjamin Bloom talking to a couple hundred attorneys in Colombia about evidence and civil procedure. And again, the typical faculty member might give 6 or 7 different related research presentations over the course of a typical year, perhaps even more than that. We, in recent years, have earned some really nice recognitions for our research. So on the right here, you see a write-up about one of Jody Short's articles in Jotwell, which is basically a journal of great reviews of articles. You can see that from the subtitle. So this is a real nice honor, and it's actually one of 2 articles that Jody wrote that got written up on Jotwell in the same year. And on the left, a couple of really nice Lifetime Achievement Awards for different faculty members, including Leo Martinez, who I think is affiliated with this group. And these are not purely research awards. They go for other things as well, but they are in part recognitions of our research contributions. So that's the why we do and what we're trying to accomplish, what we are accomplishing piece. Let me talk a little bit now about what we actually do on a week-to-week or month-to-month basis and how research is part of the daily life of the law school. So one thing we do is have a weekly research speaker series, and those are typically on Tuesdays at lunchtime. Most of the speakers, probably about 2/3, come from outside, but about 1/3 of the talks are internal, and it typically involves somebody presenting a paper or other work in progress and getting feedback on the idea. We also have different subject area speaker series. So for example, our tax law program brings in several speakers each semester to talk to our faculty, but also to talk to tax law concentrating students. We typically have an internal works in progress symposium. And so this is an event where anybody who has a nearly ready paper that's getting ready for submission can present it to other faculty members. Everybody else reads the paper, everybody else provides feedback on it. And in the last couple of years, we've typically had an average of between 15 and 20 people participating in those. We also get together as professors in smaller groups to talk about earlier stage ideas and provide feedback on those. And then we host a lot of symposia, especially this year. We have tons of symposia that are being hosted here, which is exciting among other reasons, because that's something that if you all are interested, any of these, well, the weekly speaker series is something you could certainly come to, but the symposia as well, we would love to see lots of you there. And I don't have a good slide for it, but one example of a very, I think, interesting upcoming symposium is the UC Law Journal is co-sponsoring a symposium on the California Supreme Court that will take place on November 8th. And they've got a really great lineup. The Chief Justice, multiple other justices of the California Supreme Court are going to be talking about the court, what it does, why it's important, trends within the court's decision-making. I think it'll be a really neat event, and the students who are organizing it would love to see you there. A last key piece of the school research enterprise is the student-run journals. And these are journals like UC Law Journal that publish work, both internal work and work from authors at other institutions, other schools. And it also provides an outlet for student-written research. So in any given year, a lot of the research that comes out of UC Law is actually written by students. And sometimes it's just students learning how to do research, and the quality reflects that sometimes. But sometimes they do really phenomenal work that can have some of the same value and same influence that comes from some of the best faculty work. And then finally, in recent years, the number of different research centers that are soft money funded within the law school has grown dramatically, and the amount of work that these centers do has also grown dramatically. And I should say that as research dean, this isn't really a major part of my charge. These are largely self-running, self-sustaining institutions. They don't really need me for the most part, but they are really thriving. And the amount of money that they have brought in and the amount of interesting work that they have done and the influence that they have exerted has really been great in recent years. One particularly good example, the Center for Work-Life Law, which focuses on issues of race and gender and equity in the workplace, just succeeded in getting a major new law passed by Congress, which is not an easy thing to do, obviously, that protects mothers who are pumping breast milk and need to pump breast milk at work from being discriminated against. Previously, they did not have those sorts of protections, but based on research that came out of our school and advocacy from our school, now they do. So what's new this year? Well, this is kind of an exciting year for our research efforts because we have 6 new research faculty. This is one of the biggest cohorts of new research faculty that we've had. In addition to those 6 new tenure track or tenured research faculty, we also have 3 new visiting assistant professors. We have the largest cohort of pre-tenure faculty that we have had since I've been at the law school, and I think probably for a while before that. And so all of those things, one of the big priorities for the year is integrating those new researchers into the law school, making them feel welcome and encouraged, and supporting and mentoring them. And then the other big priority for us this year, and I'm sure you've heard about this already today, is getting the word out both to the outside world and internally about the exciting research stuff we are doing. Research is one way that we build our institutional reputation, and that has very practical benefits in terms of reputation scores for things like US News. And so one of the things we are trying to do this year is to be more effective and I would say more catchy, more persuasive in telling the world about what we're accomplishing, what we're doing, and getting people to engage with that work. So last question, well, if you're interested in all of this, how might you get involved? And I'll just mention a couple of different things that are great for alumni to help us with. One is come. You are welcome to come to those Tuesday lunchtime talks, and we would love it. And I would say we, particularly the students, would love it to see alumni and other practicing attorneys show up to things like symposia. Typically, when students organize a symposium, they believe that they're pick this incredibly exciting topic and 500 practicing attorneys are going to show up, and it never actually works out that way. But if it did, and if you were among those 500 attorneys, they would be beside themselves thrilled. Cynthia, who runs our budget, would be a little concerned, but we would live with that. So come to research events. We would love to have more of the outside community involved in the work that we are doing. A second thing is follow and read our work. You will probably periodically get email blasts from the school about what we're doing, about the exciting things that are happening. If there are links to research, it'd be wonderful if you took a look and hopefully found something that is useful to you in your practice. And if it is, let us know. And if it's not, or we got it wrong, let us know as well, because that will improve the quality of the work we do. And the last thing is, to the extent that you have or want to develop relationships with our faculty, we really welcome ideas. A lot of the ideas that people pursue in legal research come out of practice. We are not, despite the things people sometimes say about academics being disengaged in ivory tower, we are very, very interested about what goes on in the real world. And mining real world challenges for ideas is a big part of what we do. And so if you come across things in your practice that you think, gosh, somebody should write about this, and it's not going to be me, I don't have the time, we really welcome that sort of input. So with that, I will stop sharing, and I'm happy to take questions if you have them.
I guess I have a question. Is there like a listserv that we can get on that we can find out about the different research stuff? Or is there like a website? What's the best way for us to kind of engage in that?
So I think the best ways would be, and these would be new things. Number one, once we have the calendar of speakers set for the spring, there's an email that goes out to the faculty that can also go out to you. And second, I don't think we have done this in the past, but I've been thinking we really should have a similar email that lists all the symposia. So right now, student journals and faculty are nailing down dates for symposia, most of which tend to happen in the spring semester, but there are some fall ones. And once we have enough of those settled, again, there can be just an email that goes out to the Board of Governors, to your board and lets you know when those events are, where they are, who's involved.
Great, thank you.
Question. And I apologize if I missed this the very beginning of your presentation because I stepped out for a second. So apologies if you covered this. But when I stepped back in, you were talking about the San Joaquin water project, and I'm familiar with that issue from working on the policy side. But curious how you guys are currently working with local, state, federal governments, just different policymakers to the extent that how are you engaging with those institutions to help inform some of the research ideas and some of the work that's happening?
So I'm hesitating just for a second because I'm trying to think of different examples. Let me step back and say that we do not have research at any institution like ours tends to be decentralized, which is generally a good thing. Individual faculty members have a lot of autonomy to pursue their own research priorities. And what that means is the level of engagement, the type of engagement, the focus of engagement is going to vary with different faculty members. So there are some people, so I gave the example of Robin Feldman. Robin is very actively engaged, particularly with federal agencies, but also to some degree with state, because the work that she is doing is highly relevant to areas of emerging regulation, and because she works really hard at it. Like, she really makes a point of trying to connect with those researchers and let them know about what they're doing. I'll use myself as an example as well. I wind up spending, I work on water issues, I wind up spending a ton of time talking to state and federal agency staff, and then because I'm on a National Academies committee that is reviewing the science for California water project operations. So I'm in rooms with state and federal staff a couple days each quarter and constantly working with them outside of that. And there are other people, I think, who, the engagement would be less, in part that may be because their work is more focused on courts, or it might be more focused on, some sort of different type of decision maker. If the work is more focused, for example, on business governance, and they're not going to engage as much. But in general, I would say most of us are, we don't want to be irrelevant. We don't want to just sort of talk in rooms where nobody hears us. So for most of us, we're pretty highly motivated to try to connect with whatever sort of agency or governmental institution might be an audience for the work we do. I'm sorry that's not, I could give you a more specific faculty by faculty member answer, but I would probably have to go through the annual reports just to make sure I was getting all my facts right.
Are there any other questions for Dave? Anybody? All right, thank you for that presentation, Dave. That was really a lot of new information, at least for me, so thank you.
You're quite welcome, and thank you all for supporting us.
Wonderful. Well, we are right on time, maybe 1 minute late, so we are going to wrap up. Let me just remind everybody that Giving Tuesday is coming up on
December 3rd, I believe, the first Tuesday.
First Tuesday of December, December 3rd. If you have not yet made your board commitment, that would be a great day to do it because, as you know, there's a lot of, you can post it on social media and a lot of, your contribution on the annual day of giving can lead to more contributions. So please do that. The next board meeting is in January in Los Angeles. Where is it?
It's most likely going to be in
it hasn't been set.
California, and I think it'll be the first weekend.
Yeah, the first weekend in February, and sorry, I didn't know we didn't have a location, but usually we rotate Northern and Southern California, so probably Southern California. All right, well, thank you everybody for coming. Again, if you have any questions about the new advisory board guidelines, please email me. You can email me separately, and we can discuss it at the next meeting, or anything else. I hope to update you even before the next meeting that we are officially no longer a 501c3. So hopefully that news will come very soon. All right, thanks everyone.
Thanks, Kevin, for being a good job.
Email you.